Welcome to this guide to the mini Hasbro figures, and my first question to you is, did you ever see these in the shops? Did you ever go into a store and actually see them on the shelves? I saw some of them as a child. You may know that the 6 figures in the ring came with the ring. The other 12 were released in sets, and those are the ones I had when I was a kid, and I'll just take you through some of them. They are essentially smaller versions of their bigger Hasbro counterparts, but with slightly less detail. It's Texas Tornado. Greg Valentine with a sort of grumpy face, very much like his larger figure. Mr. Perfect with slightly unfortunate blonde eyebrows. And there's Roddy Piper. An Earthquake and Typhoon. Well, I got my figures in a shop in the UK called B-Wise, which is a slightly niche reference, but it was a sort of discount store. Now, I think sometimes we forget what it was like collecting in the 90s. I walked in and saw these 12 figures in sets on the shelves, having no concept that they had ever existed. I'd never seen any advertising for them, never seen any pictures of them. I don't think there was even any reference to them on the back of the other Hasbro figures. Walked in and thought, what on earth are those? Obviously bought them there and then. And on the back was a picture of that ring, which I never, ever saw. Always liked Hacksaw with his stick, which I don't think, always welded in there. And I had no idea what these base plates were for on the bottom. I always thought that they were just for show, and always really annoying when you tried to play with them. Here's the Legion of Doom. Without black paint on their spikes. So we obviously looked out for this, me and my dad, for years and years and years for this ring. Never saw a sign of it. We actually called a collector's store in New York. We're here in the UK, but we were sort of trying to chase down the final few Hasbros that I needed. And we were told by them they were pretty certain that this ring had never been released here in the UK. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I never saw it. I'd be really interested to hear from you if you were in the United States and you saw it and bought it as a kid, or indeed if here in the UK you saw it and bought it. Put a comment below. There's DiBiase in his green, like his green Hasbro. Big Boss Man. I love the fact that they are exactly like the bigger Hasbros, even to the extent of having that moulded arm. And obviously there's no bend on it, but he's still got the same pattern as the larger figure. There's the Hulkster. I'll explain this bit on the bottom in a moment. And this figure, this is the one, it's always slightly what if, isn't it? Really like, I've got my finger over it, sorry. I really like this one. Wouldn't it have been great if the second of the two really similar Macho Man and Macho King figures had been in that style? Would have been great, wouldn't it? I'll show you the ring as well. Let's move the tag teams out of the way. Now, mine is not on properly. So years later, in the days of social media and in the days of eBay, some of these came up. I saw them on eBay. Sort of out of my price range. I entered a raffle. I entered a raffle on Twitter to win it, and I won the ring. Now, you can probably see my turnbuckles are on backwards, but that's because that's how it came, and it is slightly delicate. The ropes are pretty delicate. I've never changed it because, honestly, I don't want to take it apart and find that it breaks. It needs a bit of a clean as well. Probably should have done that before I started the video. But let's move some of these aside. Come on, lads. When I won the raffle, obviously, tremendous excitement. But then I figured out what it was supposed to do. And I figured out what this base plate was for on the bottom. So the ones that come with this ring come with this. It's a weight. It's pretty hefty. I don't know what it is exactly. It feels like metal. I think it must be metal. Which turns them into sort of weebles, if you like. Oh no, that's not wrong, because he fell straight over. As I said it, weebles wobble but they never fall over. That one fell straight over, which is the sort of idea. So you have, there's Jake and Boss Man. And again, I don't want to hit this too hard. And then the idea is, you sort of do this. I'm not really sure to what end, really. I don't know if there's instructions that come with it. I never had the box. Whether you're supposed to knock the other one, I suppose you're supposed to, I don't know, can you knock your opponents over? But you can't reach your opponent, so I'm not quite sure what that achieves. It's just sort of a vague tremble. It's not even an earthquake. Here's Hulk. Hulk likes a wobble too. And that is the general gist of it. Who's going to win? I don't know. How do you win? Who's going to be the last man standing, I suppose? It's like just a disco. But that's what it does. If anybody's got any further ideas, if I'm doing something wrong, let me know. But as far as I'm sure, as I can tell, that's it. I think the idea is that if your one stays up and the others fall over, then you win. But yeah, I've never really used it for that purpose. But it's a pretty great collector's piece to have, especially as I won it, I must be honest. It is probably, I mean, I don't think I've ever really won anything. So to have won that one, it is probably one of the most prized things in my collection. The Hasbros are sort of my pride and joy, really. They're the ones that I sort of kept hold of after I sold most of my collection. I speculatively entered the draw to win this and did, and now obviously it's firmly in my collection, and it is a fantastic set, certainly with a lot of nostalgia attached. Any thoughts on whether you saw one in the shops, or indeed whether there's another way to use it to make that game a little bit more interesting? And do put something in the comments below.